Okay, we're live. Welcome everyone to our 9th My Ocean Story episode. I'm Christine Stortini and this is Claudia Hurtado. Welcome. Today we have Smrutica Jithendranath. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, Smrutica. It's really lovely to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Smrutica has worked in the Maldives on coral restoration projects and is also a yoga instructor and is working towards doing her PhD in coral reef restoration. And she's worked and lived in a lot of different places around the world. That's how Claudia and her met. So I'm really excited to hear your story. Do you want to just jump in and then tell us like what does the ocean mean to you? How did it start? How did your relationship with the ocean develop over time? Like, did it start when you were young? Did it develop more when you were older?
Yeah, thank you. So hello everybody. So again, thanks to Claudia and Christine for having me here. Actually it didn't start when I was young or anything like that. I grew up in a landlocked city in India, so really didn't have much access towards the ocean, but I did grow up watching a lot of Nat Geo and Animal Planet and mostly marine related episodes. And I think I watched an episode with Christina Zanato where she does the whole shark immobility thing. Yeah,
cool.
So that is where my passion pretty much kind of started, because I said I want to be able to do that, go and play with sharks. And then I just switched from wanting to become a doctor to a marine biologist, and I really wanted to study in New Zealand, so kind of worked my way towards that, and eventually ended up in New Zealand, where after I finished my master's, came back home, where again I did a couple of odd jobs here and there. But I always wanted to go to the Maldives to work because I knew how it worked over there, because I had a friend who worked there, and she used to tell me how you have kind of the freedom to experiment with a lot of the studies that you would potentially want to do. So then eventually I started basically badgering my friend to get me a job there. And once I got the job, then got straight into the whole coral restoration stuff. So luckily the place that I worked was being constructed just then, so I had to start from the beginning over there, and started with doing the impact assessment, kind of doing a survey of the entire reef around the island. And during the construction phase itself, I started working towards restoring the reef as well. Used various methods of restoration, where we started with these metal frames that we made on site itself, and then you just kind of put it in the water, and then you find broken pieces of coral from around the island. Of course, because of the whole global warming, climate change impacts, there was quite a devastated situation already. But whatever we could find, I just go and pick them up and kind of attach it to these frames in hopes that these become an artificial reef on its own, 2 years down the line. And then eventually just monitored the growth on these frames and saw what worked, what didn't work, and over time kind of changed up the procedures, processes, using different species and stuff like that. So then eventually I experimented with the coral tree. I mean, that's something that I suddenly became a huge thing at one point. So I installed one of those coral trees as well. So these are nurseries basically. They don't really work as a reef, but you try to grow the coral pieces to a certain size and then either directly plant them back onto the reef or again use the frames.
Okay.
So that was fun as well.
That's so cool. And you were one of how many people that was working on this project?
It was just me.
Just you. So you were doing all this experimentation, all of this, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't on your own, which is
pretty much.
Wow, pretty amazing.
So I mean, I really like the freedom as well to be able to do these things. Of course, there were divers around who helped me out with the underwater, the deep water stuff, because the coral tree was essentially put a little bit deeper. But the rest of it was on the shallow reef, because it was the reef was not beyond like 2 meters, for example. So just snorkeling and, doing all this stuff. And yeah, it was good. And eventually we set up an onshore coral nursery. So we had these little tanks, and then trying to grow the corals in these kind of controlled environment. Of course, it was seawater running through, but monitoring the temperature, monitoring the pH of the water, and then seeing again what species worked versus what not. Yeah. And then again took these little plugs which had these corals attached to them, and then put it back into the ocean. So these ones I would put them back into the reef directly, and then in hopes of they would just kind of start growing. Yeah. So yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
Very cool.
And then and eventually, apart from this, I did, because there were various organizations in the Maldives doing turtle conservation and manta ray conservation as well. So kind of signed up the resort to do be a part of that. So helping them collect data in terms of individual turtles or mantas, and then because they had a huge database for the country, and they monitor the population around as well. So you just kind of give them the information on what you saw and stuff like that. Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah, very, very cool. I wonder, so you sent me a few pictures of the work that you did in the Maldives with the corals, and I think it would be really cool to show our viewers what the coral nurseries actually looked like. Because I actually had never seen anything like this. The tank ones the pictures of the tank nurseries that you sent. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick. Sure. There we go. Is it working?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh no, it might not work. That's okay. You know what? I'll try one more time. If it doesn't work, then we'll just move on. Share. Yeah, it's not going to work. Maybe because I got a new computer. That's okay. Maybe we can share those photos in the chat later, or when we start adding our episodes to our website, maybe we can add a few of those photos to go with your chat. Sure. Yeah, but I guess I wonder if you could speak to what drove you to become a marine biologist. I know you said you were watching a lot of nature documentaries and you were always more interested in the episodes to do with the ocean. And then you sort of decided over time that you wanted to be a marine biologist instead of a doctor. Is there a deeper reason for that? And the reasons why you continue to want to pursue a PhD in marine biology? Is there a deeper reason, a deeper sort of connection, anything that you can describe that drew you to the ocean, drew you to this as a career?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, of course, until I had actually been in the ocean, I didn't know what I was getting into, it sounded all fancy before. And, during the course, when we were studying as well, because we went to Australia, and again, that was the first time, seeing what is actually happening in the ocean. And obviously you're never prepared for what you're going to see until you're in there. And that blew my mind. And it kept, it kind of just became real. And then again, so Australia was, of course, the better situation. And then coming into the Maldives, seeing the situation there because of the impact of the whole warming and stuff, it was absolutely devastating. Just to see, what is happening in the world. And obviously I can do whatever I can do that I can potentially do on my behalf. But then I realized also that people need to see this, people need to hear about this. And which is when I realized that educating people is also a huge part of conservation. And then that kind of became my driving force, to be honest. I actually really like talking to people about this eventually. And then, doing presentations on the island as well. so that people who are coming to the islands thinking, yeah, okay, Maldives, beautiful waters, it's gonna like, have fun and go away, but no one realizes what's happening under that. You can, and then again, not a lot of people who ever enjoys snorkeling as well, not a lot of people realize that the corals are dead. Sure, you'll see a lot of fishes, you'll see turtles, you'll see all the big stuff, but people don't focus on the fact that the reef is dead. So again, that became something very important to me, to actually tell people, to show people what's happening. So then when I used to take people out snorkeling or doing the presentations, I would actually show like the really sad photos just so people realize what is happening. And yeah, I mean, eventually when I was traveling, I made it a point to go diving in different places just to see what's happening in various places around the world. And of course, there's some parts which are really nice, but then there's some that just like, obviously it makes you cry, because if you're into this field and you know what you're getting yourself into, what you're seeing, and it's really heartbreaking. So that kind of became the driving force to kind of stick around and do whatever I potentially could, and as much as I could. And I hope at least like 2 people were impacted by this, but just so people kind of understand that there's something that even everybody can do a little bit on their own as well. It's not a huge difference to like kind of switch from plastic to reusable stuff, simple stuff like that. Again, started talking about sustainability and switching options to recyclable options. And I mean, yeah, everyone's like, what can we do and stuff like that, but I'm like, yeah, you can do something. So
and if everybody did a little bit.
Absolutely. So kind of went into that direction as well a lot more eventually. So yeah.
Okay.
So I would like to ask you, when you talk to people about the conditions of the reef in some areas, and you took them to those places to see the difference.
Can you say that again? I couldn't hear you properly.
Okay, sorry. There, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's just like a little shaky. Yes.
Like an echo. Okay, so what did you see, or what did you experience when you told people the difference, or what was happening to the reef? Like, what effect that had on people who visited the island and saw these different places and different conditions, and what did you see that they experienced at that time?
So luckily for me, I would say 98% of the people actually responded pretty well to the whole situation, because they were interested to know and see what was happening, and to kind of understand what was happening. What's the difference between a live coral versus a dead coral? Just because they didn't realize that what they were seeing was mostly dead, because it's just there. The structures are there. It's just dead. So then I would basically show them the difference between the dead, bleached, and live coral. And then when they went into the water and seeing the kind of like the percentage of dead versus bleached versus live coral, then it started kind of affecting them. So because of this, I also was running a program with actually actively having the guests participate in reef restoration as well. So then the response to that was pretty amazing too. Then because again, people want to do stuff. You can talk to them, you can tell them, but once they do something, then it actually has more effect on you as well, and it stays with you. So then I would take people out to do the coral planting, or have group activities, stuff like that. So then when people are seeing that you can do something, and then I realized that a lot of people who did this over here, then eventually when they travel, they kind of participate in these activities elsewhere as well. So it was very, very cool. But on the flip side, there are people who just don't care. And no matter how much you try to kind of show them, try to tell them what is happening, they're just like half the people, I mean, not half the people, but there's a few people who don't believe global warming is real. So, there's the kind of interesting people to talk to.
Yeah, that's still a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's only so much you can try to explain and show, but if you still don't want to believe it, then yeah. But it's been and like I had a lot of kids getting involved as well, so I was very happy about that. So to see like the younger generation getting involved, being interested in this made me much more happier than anybody else, because then at least you know that these kids are seeing this, and if it registers, then I hope that in the future they'll be able to kind of move towards this, or at least educate people towards this, or something like that, So I kind of prefer putting this in the kids' minds.
Yeah. And so this is mostly like tourists that came through the resort that you were teaching?
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
That's why, because everyone's coming to the Maldives to, just kind of, Maldives is like the really fancy place where everything is so beautiful, everything is amazing, pristine, and everything, which it is. I mean, the waters are absolutely incredible, but I feel like a lot more people should understand what's happening below the surface as well. So
definitely.
That's why, so it was good. It was good to do that as well.
And was this a program that the parents would pay for to have their children learn about the ocean, or was this more that just something that they would have already done on their vacation, and then you like injected education into it?
No, so they didn't have to pay for it. So I used to do the presentations for the guests. We had like a little marine center set up as well, so I would do the presentations there. Or to try to get more people involved, we would do it in the main like the night event area. So once a week I had the presentations to just kind of, and then usually people after dinner, they just, go chill in the bar and stuff like that. So that's what I would do in my presentations. So a lot of people were like forced to kind of listen to it. But then there's a lot of people who would eventually come up to me and say, listen, we're interested in this topic, so do you mind talking to us about it? So then I would do it in the Marine Center separately. Had presentations prepared, and we had like the whole infographics going on and the whole place. So, just to explain to people what was happening. So this was like a part of the resort activities. It wasn't paid or anything like that.
I love that though. It's like guerrilla education. Like they have no choice. And then there's the people who maybe wouldn't have thought to seek that out, but then their interest is piqued, and then they're like, okay, I want to learn more, which is so great.
Yeah, that happened as well.
Yeah.
Because then a lot of people would come up to me and say, oh my God, I had no idea this was happening. And I'm like, yeah. So then they would be like, can we go see this? And then I'm like, sure. Then you go snorkeling and show them what was going on. And then suddenly everyone gets really sad. But I mean, it's the reality of the situation, I guess. So,
yeah.
But that sadness, that's good. I guess that's good that they feel sad. So they get to do something about it. Yeah, right?
Exactly.
Because at least they feel something. We will be worried if some people is like, I don't care about this, even looking at the reefs and feeling that they are disappearing. So the second question, we can move to the second question, that it would be like how that love for the ocean is translated into your daily life.
Right now?
Right now. Are you close to the ocean right now?
Not at all. I'm in a landlocked city. But like I said, I mean, so last year this year I moved back home, but I was looking into doing some sort of like grant research. But I missed the deadline for the application because apparently it was in April, and I came back in April. Because what I realized is, so we have the coastal area around here, which is my native town actually, and we've seen a lot of sharks in the fish market. So, and I see a lot of baby sharks in the fish markets here as well. And so that kind of made me want to go and document this in a sense, because I don't think a lot of people realize what they're fishing in certain parts over here. Including, so now again, manta rays are becoming, are being hunted as well, which is pretty unfortunate, which wasn't happening. But now I think more and more people are realizing what the value of manta ray gills are, and they are being sadly hunted. But in terms of sharks, a lot of people don't realize how important they are, because education is not a thing that has been given in so conservation, ocean conservation in general is not that huge in India. unfortunately. Like, it is slowly becoming a thing because now more and more people are getting involved and stuff. But when it comes to the fishermen over here, there's absolutely no awareness whatsoever. So I did want to look into that. And of course, you can't get into the fishermen's area and say, listen, you can't do this. But just wanted to kind of show what was happening. So hopefully I can get into that next year, and try to go check it out and see how much exactly is being sold in the fish markets, etc. Because we've seen different species and baby sharks, and not even like full-grown sharks, are different species of like hammerheads and lemon sharks, and all the babies being actually sold in the fish markets in the coastal areas and stuff. So I started doing some research on that, but now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I want to try to hopefully get into some sort of PhD program. So I've been doing a little bit research on that of late. But apart from that, I mean, I've just been like, just been doing yoga full time as of now. But let's see, hopefully in the future, I can get back into the ocean and start doing more stuff that actually makes a difference. So
yeah. You will.
Yeah.
But that's amazing that you're spending some time doing that extra research on the side to like figure out what's being sold.
And oh my God. Yeah. It's quite sad because it keeps popping up in the news as well. Like a lot of oceanic mantas being caught. And, the thing is, it's just sad when you see in the papers, they're saying a stingray was caught. And I'm like, so, it's the fact that people don't know that it's a manta ray and not a stingray is a big issue. So you just realize that.
And especially like being people who love being in the water and like scuba diving and snorkeling and being with these animals in the wild, like it's my ultimate dream to swim with a manta ray. So when I see one being killed, I'm like, no, they're so majestic, and it hurts to see it.
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, even while I was working there itself, just seeing the damages that's happened to various animals, like manta rays being scraped because of boat accidents or something like that, and like turtles losing a flipper because of getting entangled. And that was a huge thing that happened for a while, because every time the currents change and the seasons change in the Maldives, the current changes. So there's a lot of the drift net that kind of comes up, and you see so many entanglements of turtles. And we had a few rescue situations as well, and it's really sad the impact that we are having, the negligence rather, that has been had on the marine animals, because just like leaving out the nets, leaving the fishing lines, just releasing it out, and people don't realize what's happening to the animals because of that stuff. And it's been very sad as well as exciting, but very sad a lot of times as well.
I guess the hopeful thing is at least we know, like from your experiences, of the number of people that came through your resort, and you were teaching them, and then the percentage of those people that were actually interested or actually had some sort of emotional reaction, actually cared. Like, that was what do you think the proportion was? What was the percent of people that actually were interested, cared? Like, does that give us hope that, like, what proportion of the population, if given the education, would sort of change their mind and be like, oh, I should think about this?
I mean, I wish it was more than what I've seen, to be honest. But at least the ones who were interested were really interested.
Yeah.
So you could see, like, because I've had a few people come back a few times as well, and they still want to do the same stuff over and over again, which is a very, very good thing.
Yeah.
And they still want to learn more, and it's at least you see that there's a handful of people that do feel passionately for it. That they'll take it forward, and they do like promote it and stuff like that. So they kind of raise awareness on their own eventually, or at least share whatever is being done, so that people that they know what's happening as well.
Right.
So that's all you can hope for, right? Like, eventually just like kind of passing on the information from one source to the other, so that more and more people kind of get involved. But I do wish more people got involved.
Yeah.
But I think sorry, I think that comes like on hand with the contact that people have with nature again. Like, I think that that emotion that you got in the resort
Mm-hmm.
with the tourists and all these people that visited was that they come into contact with the issue, with what can I do to help. Like, normally people in landlocked areas don't know these amazing places, they don't know what we have, so they become uninterested and apathic. And so that
Yeah.
is the biggest issue of all. Because if I don't
Yep.
know what I have, I won't be able to care for
Yep.
it. So I think that is the
Absolutely.
advantage you had, that
Yeah.
you got to show people firsthand
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
happening, and they become interested and did something about it. So that's what we want in Ocean Minded as well. Like, connect people to the
Mm-hmm.
ocean and to the water sources that end up in the ocean, right?
Yep.
So
That's amazing.
everything is connected anyway. So I think it's really important to start connecting or reconnecting people with
Mm-hmm.
nature. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, even for me, when I was doing this course and stuff like that, nobody understood why I was doing it. They're like, why do you want to do this? What's the whole point? What's the goal? What's the end goal? And I'm like, I don't know, but at least I want to try. And then when I started working here and like actually posting it on social media, and then again, people from my city who've never um, seen any of this stuff or even knew that this thing actually happens. Like, people don't know what a coral was and stuff like that. So just for a lot of my friends itself to see this and then being interested in it, being interested to know what it is, and me being able to tell them what it is, etc., makes such a big difference. And even though I'm like not there right now, but even over here, when I go out of meet new people and they ask me what I do, and I say I'm a marine biologist, they're like, oh my god, so what do you do? And then that way at least I get to talk about it, like so then I go off on a rant, which I feel bad for them, but at least you kind of slowly spread the awareness. And at least I had the opportunity to do this while I was there, and ended up getting a lot of my friends to come and see what I do, and then they kind of understood what I do, and then they start spreading the word as well. So at least I'm glad that that happened for a little while, and I would like to do it furthermore as well. But yeah, like you said, it's just a matter of people being exposed to it and being able to see it. So that's why, when I mentioned that I could talk to people about this, but until you see it, you're not going to realize what exactly is happening. So I used to kind of drag people into the water and be like, come on, let's go see what's happening. So yeah, that's a very good point. And I'm really happy with what you guys are doing. I think it's very amazing. It's really commendable.
Thank you.
We need more people like you.
And you.
Thank you.
We're all just working towards trying to protect what we love. Yeah. And more to your point about when your friends, like friends of yours that didn't really know much about the ocean, would ask you, like, it's always so heartwarming when people that love you are like, oh, what's this cool thing that you're doing? And they want to learn more about it. And then you tell them, and then they're like, well, I love you, so I have to love the ocean too.
Exactly.
That's big too. That's really big.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even like, for example, my sister itself, like she has been diving a few times, but she hates diving because she's like petrified of water or whatever. But even she came and was with me, and I took her out snorkeling, and I showed her what I was doing and stuff like that. And again, when you see it versus when you see it on a photo, it's such a big difference. So when she was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So I'm like, yes, please. So then she's like my biggest fan, so I'm love her for that. But yeah, I just like to share your passion with the people that you love is so amazing as well. And I'm very, very grateful that I got to do that with like my family and friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully can do it for them again in the future.
Yeah. You definitely will.
Thank you.
So I guess we're coming up on half an hour. So I guess we can close up with our final question, which is, what is your message to our listeners about the ocean? What do you want to tell them? What's your message?
So I definitely want to tell like at least the younger generation, if you would like to become a marine biologist, please do it. It's tough. It's not an easy job, but it is totally worth the effort that you put into it.
Yeah.
Because you hear a lot saying, you know, as a marine biologist, you're not going to have much of a career, but that's not true at all. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of different fields that you can get into. And if you have the right kind of goal, then it's definitely doable. Because I thought I could never do it, and the fact that I did it, I'm very happy and grateful. But for everyone else who thinks that there's not much you can do, there's definitely something that everybody can do. Like I mentioned earlier, just kind of being a little bit more conscious of what you're using in your house and how you're disposing of your waste itself. Kind of reducing plastic, use of plastic would make a big difference to the ocean, because eventually it all ends up in the ocean. So yeah, I mean, I would say definitely switching wherever possible to anything that's more sustainable is the least that anybody can do, to be honest. And then, yeah, just go out into the ocean, see what's happening. If you have the opportunity to do so, because that will definitely change your life. So,
Totally.
Yes.
And I love your message to like the young marine biologists that might be watching. Like, it's true. It is a hard road. It's a lot of work, but the thing is, it's so worth it, because you get to spend your day thinking about or being in the ocean, which is like so incredible, and it's totally worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can study all you want, but while you're in the ocean, that's the best teacher. Like, you learn so much more when you're in the water. So that's what I realized.
Totally agree. Well, thank you so much for telling us your My Ocean story today, and for joining us, and for making the time, even with this big time difference, to be here with us. So thank you so much. This is really wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I'm sorry about the confusion yesterday, but
no, that was all on us.
But seriously, thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure, and I'm really happy to talk about, you know, the ocean any day, any time of the day. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope we can have you again in the future, talking to us about your PhD and what are you doing and everything related with the ocean and whatever.
Yeah, definitely a follow-up, My Ocean story, how it develops.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, My Ocean story part 2.
Yeah.
Yes, I really hope so. Yes, thank you so much, you guys. And great job for whatever you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks so much.
Good.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we'll be posting about our next episode soon. Bye.
Bye.